So, WWDC happened yesterday, and there was a lot of interesting stuff going on. I actually filmed a video recapping the entire event yesterday, but I just wasn't feeling well, and the video didn't come out the way I wanted it to, so I decided not to upload that, and here's just another recap, and feeling a lot better. So, I've had time to think about the event as well, not to mention I've had some time to use iOS 12, and I have some thoughts on that. So, the event covered the event was software only. There was absolutely no hardware. I was very disappointed by that initially, but as time went on, I kind of came to accept the fact that this was a developers conference. It's right there in the name. It's not a hardware conference. It's a developers conference. So it was only fair that they only talked about the software this time around. We got spoiled last time with Apple bringing out some new hardware at WWDC last year. But this year, we just didn't get any, and it was kind of upsetting because of all the buildup and the rumors about all these new devices. So, as usual, they started off the event, talked about the App Store a little bit, and the App Store was a big focus of around the entire event. It was that there were just a lot of interesting things going on. One of the coolest things was that there was 500 million visitors per week to the App Store, and that they had paid out about $100 billion to developers till this point in revenue. So that's a very interesting number to see. And they're just, focusing a lot on that App Store and the app atmosphere. They started off the event with iOS. iOS 12 is honestly what most everybody expected. It was a performance upgrade. There's a very good performance boost, especially on older devices. You're going to get 40% faster app launch, 50% faster keyboard responses, and 70% faster camera opening. And I've been using iOS 12 on my iPhone 10 for about close to 14, 16 hours now, and it's been incredible. I can't even tell it's a beta. That's how good it is. It's just excellent. There's been no issues, and this is one of the best and most stable iOS release betas I've ever used in my life. And Apple is also trying to work on making sure that while the device is under load, the CPU is under load, it optimizes everything to make sure that you get the best results in terms of performance. And they're supporting devices going all the way back to the iPhone 5S, which is excellent. 5-year-old devices are getting full support for iOS 12. And the reason behind it is Apple is saying it will make them so much better than they are currently, and I'll be testing that in a future video. So there was just a lot covered. There's a few updates to the Photos app with the new layout, a slightly new layout, a better search feature, and all those cool things. Siri got a little bit of an update in terms that you can now set up shortcuts. It's not the improvement everybody was hoping for on Siri, but now at least you can do a little bit more personalization and customization. It's very similar to what Bixby allows you to do with these personalized commands, but it is there. It's a little bit of an upgrade to Siri. Then we have the Voice Memos app that got changed over. Apple iBooks is now called Apple Books. The News app got a slightly new layover as well. There was a new change. There was a small tweak to the stock apps as well. It will now show you news curated for business and the related stocks you have from Apple employees, and there's a new suite of apps that will help you manage your time on the device. It'll show you how much you're using these apps, and it'll give you a lot more information to control your usage of the device. So if you wanted to control how much you're using your phone, you could do that. And there are a lot better parental controls now. It can go all the way up to forcing downtime on the phone. It'll force app-like lockout. So once you've used the app for, say, an hour, say you don't want your kids using social media for more than 30 minutes or 1 hour a day, you can easily set that from your phone and it will carry over to their phone, which is amazing. And it really does improve this parental control thing through family sharing. Then Messages got an update where you got new animojis and something called a Memoji, which is basically a customizable Animoji which you can create using your face as an example. Then there was the biggest news with iOS, which was group FaceTime, which allows you to FaceTime up to 32 members on one call. That's an amazing feature, and I wasn't expecting group FaceTime, but I'm so happy we finally get that because it was annoying to have to use Skype for those group calls, and now I could just shift over completely to iMessage for that. And before I move on, the final changes with iOS also include a big focus on AR. So Apple has been pushing AR heavily since last year, and now they're even taking it a step further. You can now have multi-view AR, so two devices can actually look at the same virtual world. There's just endless possibilities with games. They demoed a very cool Lego game where two people were playing with the same virtual world, and it was just incredible, and I'm so excited to see what you could do with that. Apple also introduced this new app called Measure. So Measure will now let you, actually let you measure things using the phone's camera. So say you have a window pane. So what you could do is just tap your camera, hit the edge of that, trace it, and then hit stop, and it'll actually calculate the distance to an approximate level, which is amazing to think that Apple is actually implementing that into the phones. The accuracy, I'm not sure how close that's going to get, but I'm sure that if Apple's doing it, it's not going to be too far off. And one of the more cooler things that I think everybody was excited about, and something that I've been wanting for a long time, is better notifications on iOS. So notifications is getting a revamp. You get a lot more control. You get group notifications. And iOS has basically taken a page out of Android's book, so you get more control over what kind of notifications show up. You can silence certain notifications from apps. You can, have Apple suggest notifications. So Apple will see, if you haven't used an app for a couple of weeks and it just keeps sending you notifications, it'll suggest that, hey, how about we turn off notifications for this app because you clearly aren't using it and it's just bothering you. And there's a lot of cool additions like that. And the group notifications, it stacks the notifications from one app together so that you can easily triage them if you want to. So say it's just a bunch of emails and you're like, I'm not going to answer my emails right now. You could just swipe them away and deal with them later when you want to. And it's just a very interesting way to go about things. And also notifications now with those other features about the usage and controlling your usage, what it'll do now is there is a better mode where you can set up not having to see the entire list of notifications when during a certain time. And even in the morning, you can set it up so that you're not assaulted with the notifications the second you wake up. So generally when you wake up, you see this long list of notifications from different apps. What Apple is doing is it'll allow you to kind of hide that. So you can have it hide that, and when you're ready for them, say after you've gone to the gym maybe, or after you've had breakfast, then you can open those up and you can see what's going on. Again, these are all optional. Nothing is forced down your throat, but it's so cool that you're getting so much control over your notifications now. And I was actually so excited that this is happening. I wasn't expecting notifications to get revamped, and I was actually surprised and happy about it. After iOS, Apple moved on to the watchOS. watchOS was a fairly minor upgrade. It's going to be focusing on bringing more activity monitoring and more cellular connection for you to help out with general things. And the monitors are getting you automatic start, detection for workouts, and automatic end for workouts. They give you a few new workout types, including hiking and yoga. They'll use your heartbeat to kind of monitor what you're doing. It also gives you a retroactive credit. So say that you did a workout and you forgot to log it in, Apple will still give you that credit. So that's very good. Then there was the most notable feature with the watchOS was walkie-talkie. So you can now set up walkie-talkie between friends or your family, and you could just tap to talk to someone, and it will allow you to send quick, short messages through Wi-Fi or cellular or whatever you're on. And that's a very interesting little feature there. It's something that's cool, and I'm actually excited to see what it's like in real use. Then the Siri watch face gets a few updates that make it more optimized. It'll show you more information now. And overall, it's just a general update to what most things are. There's no big fancy new layout or anything. It's just very basic stuff. And there are interactive notifications, so you can now interact with the notifications more. So say you get a notification from, say, Yelp. You booked a table, you have a reservation somewhere at a restaurant, you're running late, you can use the notifications to alter your reservation, kind of extend the time, all those kind of things you can do. And you can also now activate Siri without having to say, "Hey Siri." So previously you'd have to lift up your watch, say, "Hey Siri," then you would get the actual prompt and you can say what you want to. Now Apple has kind of removed that, so all you have to do is lift it up, say your command, and the Apple Watch knows when you're saying and what you're saying, and it'll give you the information right off the bat. So it's a lot more easier. There's one step less to get you your information, and it feels a lot more natural. So I just lift off my watch and I can say, what's the time in Bangladesh, and I get the time. So that's very fun. Then Apple spent a little bit of time talking about tvOS, Apple TV. Nothing that big going on there. You get Dolby Atmos support now, and you get Dolby Vision support. The one more thing you do get is it's not going to be available to everyone, but for a lot of people, what you could do is you can hook it up directly with your cable provider. Yeah, your cable provider. So say you have Spectrum, you can now just directly use your Apple TV to watch live TVs. You don't need another box from Spectrum connected to your TV to watch. You can directly use the Apple TV to watch live television, which is awesome because that reduces clutter, and that's one less thing you have to keep near your TV. Now, this is not available for everyone right now. This is very limited, and only a few companies have started off with this. But given the track record with Apple, it'll take some time, but everybody is going to jump on board, and we will see a lot more providers jumping on to this. And finally, let's talk about the Mac. So the Mac received the most updates. Nobody was really expecting Mac OS to be anything spectacular or even a significant of an upgrade, but we were all mistaken, and Mac OS actually got a very good number of upgrades and updates that make it a lot better than it is currently. So now they've ditched the mountain naming scheme. It's now called Mac OS Mojave, after the Mojave Desert in California. The biggest key change here and addition that I think everybody welcomes is dark mode, and not just dark mode in the sense your dock and your top status bar gets blacked out. No, the entire system, every app that supports it, including Finder, Safari, emails, everything it blacks out, and it's amazing. Photos, there's a lot of apps that support it. I think that almost every single Apple app is supported with this dark mode, and it is excellent. I just can't wait to get using this. It also gives you a lot more support in terms of, just the way it's organizing things for you. So you get this nice stack view on your desktop. So if your desktop is cluttered with a lot of things you're working on. So say whenever I'm working on, say, a video, I have a lot of files on the desktop, including the images that I'm going to use in the video, the screenshots I'm going to use, just a lot of random files on my desktop at that time, but then afterwards I remove them. But while I'm working, I like to have them on the desktop. So what Apple does is you can now sort by stack, and what it'll do is it'll create stacks on your desktop of certain file types. So it'll group together photos, it'll group together Word documents, it'll group together videos. So that way you can quickly select, go through them without having a huge clutter of files on your desktop. So for productivity, that seems to be a very interesting step. You also get this cool new dynamic wallpaper. So as, say, the day goes on, there's one wallpaper they showed off where the desert will also kind of go from the morning, the afternoon, evening to night, and you'll see different lighting situations and angles of the sand and everything. So that's an amazing feature, and I'm looking forward to using that on my computer. And then there's just a lot of cool additions to Finder. You get this new gallery view. You get a lot of improvements to just general usage on Finder. There's going to be edit, trim, markup. All those are going to be available in Quick Look instead of having to actually open the files up in Preview and do it that way. You can just use Quick Look to do your quick changes and stuff to the formats that are supported. You get continuity camera. So what you could do is, say you're working on a Word document, or in this case Pages, because that's what's supported right now. What you could do is you could right click and you'll get an option to take photo. You hit take photo, immediately the camera app on your iPhone opens up. Take a photo of whatever you need to. Say it's a document. Take a photo of that document. Immediately it'll come right onto the Pages app on your computer, so you don't have to mess with anything else. It's just immediate like that, which is amazing for productivity. And generally, that's what the case is with this update. Is there's a lot more improvements to productivity. You also get the news, the stock, the HomeKit app coming to the Mac finally. The voice memos app is also coming over. There's a huge improvement to security. Apple is now taking security very seriously. They always have, but even more so now. They're including security for your mic and your camera. So a lot of people are concerned about, your other people using your camera and your integrated microphone to spy on you, to look into your conversations. And a lot of people have actually covered them, including myself. But now Apple will have even more further protection from anybody maliciously using your mic and your camera. It's also going to now block all these comments. You see any website you go to, there's a huge comment section, or these Facebook share, Twitter, all these little buttons. They block them now because they say that these are actually used to track your movements on the internet, and they're going to be blocking those unless you want them, so that the internet does not, you're not getting tracked constantly for your data. There's also this amazing thing where there's a technique called fingerprinting that a lot of these people use to find out what device you're using. And what they do is they use your device identifier, they use the specifications of your device, they use what kind of web browser you're using, the plugins you're using, all that kind of information. It kind of creates a unique ID, and not a lot of people have that common of an ID, so they use that to track you instead of, say, just the cookies or something like that. So that's something that Apple is working against now. What they're doing is they're only going to give you a simplified specification to the websites that are looking for it. It's not going to support any these older legacy plugins, so that these data cannot be easily tracked. And overall, what it's going to do is it's going to make it extremely difficult for anybody using the fingerprinting technique to actually use it anymore, especially because what it's going to do is it's going to make every MacBook look like every other MacBook out there, which is going to be awesome. And it really does improve security on another level when it comes to just web browsing and keeping your data private. The final change with macOS is the new Mac App Store. So the Mac App Store is completely refreshed. It looks very similar now to the App Store on the iPhone, which has been updated a while ago, but the Mac App Store wasn't. It's been the same since it ever came out. It's pretty bad, to be honest. Now they're including it, they're making it a lot nicer. You'll get video previews of apps and games that have them. And then you can actually give reviews and ratings now directly from the app or in the App Store, which will really help boost the overall, it'll just help boost the usage of the entire App Store a lot more. And they're also bringing on a lot more developers. So Microsoft is bringing Office 365, Adobe is bringing Lightroom CC, and a bunch of other big name developers are bringing in their apps directly to the App Store instead of having to download them online, which is actually going to support the Mac App Store a lot more. And that's a step I'm excited about. I'm not really fond of having to go to 100 websites to find different softwares to download. And if they were all on the Mac App Store, I just feel a lot safer about downloading them and using them on my computer, because I know that Apple has vetted them thoroughly to make sure that they work right with my computer and they're not up to anything weird. And that wraps up the entire event. And the thing with the event was, initially when it was over, I was extremely disappointed. I was upset. I was just not happy with the lack of hardware, missing hardware, no mention of AirPod, the wireless AirPods, no mention of the Air Power Mat, nothing else. But then, as the day went on yesterday, I felt a little bit more, I had time to think about it, and I was like, okay, this makes sense. It was a developers conference. They're going to focus on software. They have tons of developers visiting them, so there's no point in introducing new hardware right now when they could focus on developers, give them an opportunity to improve. So there's a lot of interesting things going on with this, and I just think that while there was a lot of missing things that I wish to have seen in iOS and watchOS and all those, what they've done is I'm happy with it. The steps they've taken are good. Definitely would have wanted to see dark mode on iOS. I definitely would have wanted to see a lot more changes to the UI on the iOS, because it's kind of getting stale now. I'm not that big of a fan of it, but it is what it is. So I'm looking forward to it on the whole in general. So let's see what it turns out to be like. So let me know what you guys think about macOS, watchOS, Apple tvOS, and iOS. all this time around. Are you guys happy with the changes? Do you think that Apple made the right step here? And just let me know down in the comments below, what will you be, upgrading? Will you be on the developer software, or what it's going to be? Also, hit me up on social media if you have any more questions. And if you haven't already, guys, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And I'll catch you in the next one.